Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how easily you show kindness to other people, yet struggle to offer the same kindness to yourself? Many people grow up believing that self-love is selfish, or that caring about yourself too much is a form of ego. But what if the opposite is true? What if learning to love yourself is actually one of the most important skills you can develop in life? In this episode of Learn English with Deja, we will explore a powerful idea that loving yourself is not about arrogance, pride, or thinking you are better than others. It is about compassion. It is about learning to treat yourself with the same patience, understanding, and respect that you would offer to someone you truly care about. As you listen, you will not only practice English listening skills, you will also reflect on a deeper life lesson. Because when you learn to love yourself in a healthy way, something quietly changes inside you. You begin to feel more peaceful, more confident, and more emotionally safe. And if this lesson gave you something useful, you can support the channel by joining the membership. And don't worry, all episodes will always stay free for everyone. Membership is simply an optional way to support the channel and help this little learning community grow. Every bit of support truly makes a difference. With love, let's dive in. Why do so many people search for love outside themselves? Many people spend years trying to earn approval from others. They work harder, try to please everyone, and constantly worry about how they are perceived. At first, this behavior may seem normal. After all, human beings naturally want connection and acceptance. But there is a hidden problem when your sense of worth depends entirely on how other people see you. When your happiness depends on external approval, your emotional stability becomes fragile. A compliment can lift you up, but criticism can suddenly make you feel small or inadequate. True self-love changes this dynamic. Instead of constantly searching for validation outside yourself, you begin to develop a quiet inner confidence. This does not mean that you stop caring about people. It simply means that your sense of value is no longer controlled by their opinions. When your worth comes from within, you feel more grounded and secure. Other people's praise becomes pleasant, but not necessary for your emotional balance. What does it mean to walk home to yourself? Learning to love yourself is often described as a journey, and one beautiful way to understand this journey is to imagine it as walking home to yourself. Throughout life, many people slowly move away from their natural sense of self. They adapt to expectations, compare themselves to others, and sometimes lose touch with their authentic feelings. Over time, they begin to believe that their value must be proven through achievements, appearance, or constant productivity. Walking home to yourself means gently returning to your inner world. It means remembering that your worth does not depend on how impressive your life looks from the outside. Instead, your value exists simply because you are a human being with thoughts, emotions, and experiences. This shift in perspective can feel surprisingly calming. Instead of constantly chasing approval, you begin to reconnect with your own voice, your own needs, and your own emotional truth. Why is self-love often misunderstood as ego? Many people hesitate to practice self-love because they worry that it will make them arrogant or selfish. Society sometimes sends confusing messages about confidence. On one hand, people admire confidence and self-respect. On the other hand, they often criticize anyone who openly values themselves. True self-love, however, has nothing to do with ego. Ego tries to prove superiority. Ego constantly compares itself with others and wants to feel more important. Self-love is completely different. it is quiet, calm, and respectful. It does not need to compete or dominate. Instead, it creates emotional stability inside you. When you genuinely respect yourself, you no longer feel the need to prove your worth through competition or approval. Ironically, people who truly love themselves often become kinder, more patient, and more understanding toward others. This is because self-love reduces insecurity. And when insecurity disappears, compassion naturally grows. How does your inner voice shape your self-worth? Inside every person, there is a constant inner voice. This voice quietly comments on your actions, your decisions, and even your mistakes. For many people, this inner voice can become extremely harsh. It criticizes failures, magnifies small errors, and often speaks with a tone of disappointment or shame. Over time, this negative internal dialogue can deeply influence how you see yourself. Self-love begins when you start paying attention to this inner voice. Instead of allowing constant criticism, you gradually learn to replace that voice with something more supportive. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a close friend who is struggling. You would not insult them or shame them for making mistakes. You would encourage them, comfort them, and remind them that growth takes time. When your inner voice becomes nurturing rather than judgmental, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes a safer place to grow. Why does compassion create stronger growth than criticism? Many people believe that being hard on themselves will push them to improve. They think strict self-criticism will motivate them to work harder or avoid mistakes. But research and experience often show the opposite effect. Constant criticism creates stress, anxiety, and fear of failure. When your mind feels like an unsafe place, growth becomes more difficult. Compassion creates a different environment. When you treat yourself with patience and understanding, you allow mistakes to become learning opportunities instead of emotional punishments. This mindset encourages curiosity rather than fear. Instead of worrying about being perfect, you begin to focus on progress. Growth becomes something natural and sustainable. Self-compassion does not mean ignoring responsibility. It simply means approaching your development with kindness instead of harsh judgment. Over time, this compassionate approach builds confidence, resilience, and a deeper sense of emotional security. Why is perfection such a heavy burden to carry? Perfection can appear attractive at first. Many people believe that if they become perfect, they will finally feel satisfied and respected. However, perfection is often an impossible standard. The closer you try to get to perfection, the more pressure you place on yourself. Every small mistake begins to feel like failure, and even your successes may seem insufficient. Self-love invites you to release this exhausting expectation. Instead of demanding perfection, you begin to appreciate progress. You recognize that being human naturally includes mistakes, learning experiences, and moments of uncertainty. This understanding creates emotional freedom. When you stop trying to be flawless, you allow yourself to grow naturally and authentically. Life becomes less about constant evaluation and more about meaningful experience. In this space, creativity, curiosity, and confidence begin to flourish. Why are healthy boundaries an essential part of self-love? Loving yourself does not only involve how you speak to yourself, it also involves how you protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. Healthy boundaries are a powerful expression of self-respect. Without boundaries, people may unintentionally place too many demands on you. You might find yourself constantly saying yes, even when you feel tired, overwhelmed, or uncomfortable. Over time, this pattern can lead to emotional exhaustion. Setting boundaries simply means recognizing your limits and respecting them. It means understanding that your energy is valuable and deserves protection. When you say no in a respectful way, you are not rejecting others. Instead, you are honoring your own needs. Surprisingly, healthy boundaries often improve relationships. When you protect your emotional space, you interact with others from a place of balance rather than resentment. Why does saying no sometimes feel so uncomfortable? Many people feel guilty when they say no. They worry about disappointing others or appearing selfish. This discomfort often comes from years of conditioning. From a young age, many individuals learn that being agreeable and accommodating is the best way to receive approval. However, constantly ignoring your own needs can slowly weaken your sense of self-respect. Self-love requires the courage to accept temporary discomfort for long-term emotional health. Saying no may feel awkward at first, but it is a powerful act of self-respect. It communicates that your time, energy, and emotional well-being matter. Over time, the discomfort begins to fade. You start to realize that healthy people respect clear boundaries. And more importantly, you begin to respect yourself for protecting your own well-being. What happens when you become your own safe place? Imagine living with the quiet confidence that no matter what happens outside you, you can return to a place of emotional safety within yourself. This is one of the greatest gifts of self-love. When you become your own safe haven, difficult situations feel less overwhelming. You trust your ability to handle challenges, learn from mistakes, and recover from disappointment. Instead of relying entirely on others for comfort or reassurance, you develop an inner stability. This inner security creates emotional independence. It does not mean you stop valuing relationships. It simply means that your sense of peace does not disappear when circumstances change. Your emotional center becomes stronger, calmer, and more reliable. Why does comparison quietly damage self-love? In today's world, comparison is almost unavoidable. Social media, professional competition, and cultural expectations constantly encourage people to measure themselves against others. At first, comparison may seem harmless, but over time it can quietly erode your sense of self-worth. When you constantly compare your life to someone else's achievements, appearance, or success, you may begin to feel inadequate. Self-love encourages a different perspective. Instead of comparing yourself to others, you focus on your own journey. You recognize that every person has a unique path, different experiences, and different challenges. Your growth cannot be measured by someone else's timeline. When you release the habit of comparison, you create space for appreciation. You begin to notice your own progress, your own strengths, and your own quiet victories. How can kindness toward yourself transform your daily life? Small acts of kindness toward yourself can slowly transform your relationship with life. These acts do not need to be dramatic or extraordinary. They often appear in simple moments. Perhaps you allow yourself to rest without guilt after a long day. Perhaps you forgive yourself for a mistake instead of replaying it repeatedly in your mind. Perhaps you speak to yourself with encouragement when facing a difficult challenge. These small choices gradually reshape your inner environment. Instead of living under constant pressure, you begin to experience a sense of emotional gentleness. Life becomes less about proving your worth and more about experiencing growth and meaning. Over time, these moments of kindness accumulate, creating a deeper sense of inner peace. Why is self-respect more powerful than external approval? External approval can feel satisfying, but it is often temporary. Compliments, recognition, and praise can quickly disappear. When your confidence depends entirely on these external signals, your emotional stability becomes fragile. Self-respect offers something far more reliable. Self-respect grows from understanding your own values and honoring them consistently. When you act in alignment with your principles, you develop a quiet pride in who you are becoming. This feeling does not depend on applause or recognition. It comes from within. People who respect themselves often make healthier decisions, maintain stronger boundaries, and pursue goals that genuinely matter to them. Their sense of identity becomes more stable and authentic. What changes when you truly accept yourself? Acceptance creates a powerful shift in how you experience life. When you stop fighting against your imperfections, you release a large amount of emotional tension. Acceptance does not mean giving up on improvement. Instead, it means recognizing that growth and self-respect can exist at the same time. You can acknowledge your weaknesses while still appreciating your strengths. This balanced perspective allows you to approach life with curiosity rather than fear. Challenges become opportunities to learn rather than proof of inadequacy. Relationships also become healthier because you no longer depend on others to confirm your value. Your sense of worth becomes stable, steady, and internally grounded. What does it truly mean to love yourself more than anyone else? Loving yourself more than anyone else does not mean ignoring other people's needs or becoming selfish. It means recognizing that your relationship with yourself is the foundation of every other relationship in your life. When you treat yourself with kindness, respect, and compassion, you naturally create healthier connections with others. You no longer tolerate situations that damage your emotional well-being. You no longer seek approval at the cost of your peace. Instead, you become your own source of stability and support. In many ways, self-love is like returning home after a long journey. It is the quiet realization that you are always worthy of care, patience, and understanding. And when you finally offer those qualities to yourself, life begins to feel calmer, clearer, and deeply meaningful. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. Your support means so much. It keeps this space alive and growing. With love, thank you for being here, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you.